What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another Lab Report episode. I appreciate everybody that's been rocking with me so far. You know, it's been a journey, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the feedback. I'm enjoying, just talking about music with all of you. So as usual, if there's an album that you think I missed, a single I missed, or if you have an opinion, leave it in the comments, tweet at me, let me know what's up. So as usual, we're going to start with our duds of the week. But before that, if you don't know what Lab Report is, it's essentially a show where we go through the week's drops in hip hop and talk about them in three categories. We go through the duds of the week, the singles of the week, and the albums of the week. So without further ado, let's start with the duds. At number 3, coming in the duds of the week, we actually have an artist who I usually really enjoy their music. And despite their main counterpart being more popular than them, popular than them, I tend to enjoy their music a little bit more. And so it really conflicted me putting this on the duds because I genuinely really enjoy their music. So coming in at number 3, we have Florida Jit by Smoke Perp. There's definitely a lot wrong with this album in many different capacities, but I still think Smoke Perp manages to shine through some of his songwriting ability and, more importantly, some of his actual rapping ability. I don't think a lot of people know that at times Smoke Perp, when he tries, can actually rap. The main thing for me on here, and I think this is a very prominent part of Florida rap that's super important for these projects, is some of the production choices on this thing were just flat out boring. I also think Smoke Perp really alleviated from his traditional style, and he tried to switch it up a bit too much. We can't fault artists for experimenting, trying new sounds, but at the end of the day, sometimes things just don't work. And there were definitely some things on here that did not work. For example, the song One Way, I think. One Play. One of the worst songs I've ever heard, in a while. Maybe even period, one of the worst songs I've ever heard. That's definitely not traditional Smoke Perp formatting when it comes to songwriting, production, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, like I said, I'm not going to fault him too much for experimenting, but just know if you're watching this, that is not the way. There are definitely still some gems on here. The song Tide Pin with Jack Harlow, as well as the song It's Whatever, which was a single he dropped before the album actually came out. Definitely gems on this project that I think are really, really solid tracks. But for the majority of this album, it just sounded unpolished, and it sounded, just like it shouldn't have been put out in the first place without a little more touch up on it. At number 2, we have a producer who I think is, one of my favorite producers of our generation. But when it comes to his own solo music, I just do not get the hype. I do not get why people hype up his projects, because just in my opinion, they're just not, it doesn't sound good. Coming in at number 2, we have The Life of Pablo. I'm such a Kanye stan. We have The Life of Pierre 4, the deluxe edition by Pierre Bourne. So I must be missing something, because I genuinely do not get the hype behind Pierre Bourne's solo ventures in music. Don't get me wrong, I love his contributions to other people's projects. Anytime I hear his producer tag, I jump out of my seat because I know it's about to be a banger. But just his rapping ability and his cadence and everything just doesn't really sit well with me. So based off of what I've heard, his solo music is just really troublesome to get through. But keep in mind, I've only listened to this project in its original version and in the deluxe version. So if there's any, Pierre Bourne songs, projects that I need to listen to that you think are solid, let me know in the comments. Tweet at me, let me know. But just based off these two listens that I've had with his original and his deluxe version, it just hasn't done anything for me. And I genuinely, no sarcasm, I genuinely want to know what the appeal is, because I cannot seem to find it within me to enjoy this music. Coming in at number 1, we have another deluxe edition. Obviously, you can start to see a trend with deluxe editions this year. A lot of times it's just adding pointless songs that, you literally threw away the album off the album in the first place, and you're just trying to increase your streaming sales, so you add more projects to the album so people have to come back and listen to it. But at the end of the day, the songs suck. Coming in at number 1, we have Artist 2.0 Deluxe by A Boogie. This is the epitome of what's wrong with modern deluxe editions on albums. I wish rappers would stop dropping complete filler on these deluxe albums. These songs are so pointless and so bland and so boring that you're tarnishing how great your original project was in the first place. I loved Artist 2.0. Loved that album. One of my favorite albums. I can't remember if it came out this year or late last year, but I love that project. And I just hate that I hate that A Boogie felt he needed to come out with a deluxe of this caliber to sort of ruin the shine that project had. There were definitely a few solid tracks like the intro and Talk About It. I really enjoyed those songs. I think they contributed greatly to the original project. Most of this you could easily sleep through, and not in a good, soothing, music that they play in the daycare when you're taking a nap on a mat next to Billy. Not that kind of soothing. Like, this will put you to sleep easily. And for the love of all things holy, A Boogie, please stop using lines saying stop stealing my sound. No, nobody cares. We don't care anymore. We know. Everybody in New York wants to sound like A Boogie. We get it. Stop. Now we're going to move on to the good stuff. Definitely some solid singles this week. The singles list in this was actually very competitive this week. I actually really enjoyed a lot of these songs that came out. So let's get right into it. Coming in at number 3, we have actually a new artist I never listened to before with the feature of somebody really prominent in the Memphis rap scene. We have Hold Up by 3 Black featuring Moneybagg Yo. This was one of those songs where as soon as the beat started hitting, you just knew. You knew it was about to be hard. Hard production, there's these gritty keys in the background that you can hear off rip that sound amazing, and I think it really enhanced the production on this track. So obviously I've never heard of 3 Black before, but this definitely made me want to dive more into his music. I think he did not get carried by Moneybagg on this track, which, Moneybagg has definitely carried a lot of people this year on his features, and I think a lot of people need to start talking about him more when it comes to MVPs of the year, because Moneybagg has consistently dropped music on his own that's really good and also enhanced every single track that he's gotten on this year. So this is just a solid outing for both of these artists, and I really like them as a duo, and I hope they both continue to prosper this year. Coming in at number 2, we have one of my favorite New York rappers this year. He's definitely in the running for my MVP list. Had a pretty solid EP earlier on this year. And also a feature of somebody that I think is criminally underrated and undervalued in hip-hop. We have Move Like a Boss by Fivio Foreign featuring Young M.A. So New York, undisputedly might be my MVP of the year. If we're like titling like MVP cities of the year, New York is definitely up there for me in terms of rap. So this is definitely a step up from Fivio's project that he released. It was pretty good. Not the best thing I've ever heard. But he definitely bounced back with this single right here. I think this one was super, super good. One of the things that Fivio is known for is having these like fire choruses that, you catch on to as soon as you hear it. It's like after the first run through the track, you're going to be talking about this chorus. You're going to be reciting it to yourself all day. You're going to want to put the song on repeat immediately because that's how good his choruses usually are. And this is no different. If you know me, I'm a sucker for samples of choruses on them, and this is definitely no different. The production on this thing is really solid, had a nice choir in the background. But the only reason that keeps this from being in the number 1 spot this week is the fact that we got a lazy Young M.A verse. I love Young M.A to death. I think she's undervalued in hip hop. But at the end of the day, I just don't think this is her best outing. I think she could have done a lot better with her verse. It just seemed kind of lazy, like she didn't really care, and she just tried to flush out a verse. Coming in at number 2 on our singles of the week, we have Hood Scars 2 by J.I., the Prince of New York, featuring Lil TJ. So in typical like Lil TJ stylation, this is a typical New York drill hip hop ballad. This is my introduction to and J.I. the Prince of New York. It's my first time ever hearing him, and I was very impressed. I definitely think J.I. the Prince has a style. I think he has a look to be a superstar. I think the women will be
A few moments later.
I think J.I. the Prince has a style, has the look to definitely be a superstar in hip-hop. I think he just has to keep his head straight, keep putting out consistently good music. I've obviously never heard a full-length project from him yet, but I'm hoping that if he does put something out that is solid, because I think he could blow up this year. New York is being put on the map by all these other artists, so I think he could definitely be put in that same realm and category. This song has one of those choruses, like we talked about with Move Like a Boss, to where you're going to be rapping along to it after your first listen for sure. Maybe even more so with this one because it has melodies, which is, kind of the trend right now, especially with people in Lil TJ's realm and style. And Lil TJ provides one of his better features on this track. He definitely hasn't had the best year with his mid EP that he dropped earlier this year. He's definitely had some other good feature verses. But this is definitely one of his better feature verses from this year. Moving on to the nitty gritty, we are moving on to our albums of the week. Coming in at number 3, we have City on Lock by the City Girls. So this is just good fun all the way through. You know, you have your typical City Girl anthems about being independent, taking money from men, using men for sex, you know, whatever the case may be. They just seem to have fun with this album, and that fun definitely translated to my listen personally. I just think it was an all-around super fun, you know, charismatic album. This is my first City Girls project listening to all the way through. You know, I had always heard their singles and stuff and really got the appeal. But now I definitely see the appeal of these women, especially to the demographic of women that listen to hip hop. I think all these women can spit. Like, I think they can definitely go on the mic. And I definitely think their subject matter has its niche in hip hop. Across all 3 of these women, there's so much charisma that you just can't help but bob your head and like almost want to get up and dance all the way through. And, you know, I guarantee you a critique of the City Girls, of many, especially men in hip hop, is going to be, oh, they're rapping about the same stuff. You know, their subject matter just isn't there. So if you think that, I challenge you to listen to the outro. Ain't Saying Nothing. Listen to Ain't Saying Nothing as the outro and tell me that they do not have different subject matter when they want to. Let these women have fun because they are killing it. This album was great. Coming in at number 2, we have a deluxe project that actually, you know, transcended and enhanced the original, which is rare this year because a lot of these artists, as we said before, are dropping a bunch of nonsense. We have Young and Turnt Deluxe by 42 Doug. Hey Boogie, take notes. This is how you drop a deluxe album. Some of these songs were better than the songs that he had on the original cut of this album, and that's what a deluxe album should be. You should make me want to come back and spend more money to listen to these tracks because they're that good. Absolutely no throwaways on the deluxe, no filler tracks. Every single one of them enhanced the project that they are on. All of them are worth listening to. I highly recommend every single track that he added to this deluxe. 42 Doug is having a breakout year. You know, after his feature with Grace on Grace with Lil Baby, and then moving on to We Paid being one of the biggest hip hop singles of the year so far. I definitely think he's going to continue to glow up. So now I think, you know, in typical fashion, like we always say, I think it's time for him to, you know, take a step back. Don't get hasty and start dropping some mid stuff. Take a break, you know, get a chance to unwind, find some new subject matter, hone those skills. You can't go on tour right now, obviously, but just find something to do until you're ready to put out quality music again, because the last thing his career needs is for him to drop something that makes him forgettable. Coming in at number 1, and I'm super excited to make this my number 1 because I have all the faith in the world in this artist, but they have let me down with a lot of their previous projects. We have The Smartest by T Grizzley. So this is easily the best project that T Grizzley has put out. I don't know what got into him. You know, he had the death of his aunt, the murder of his aunt in a shootout, and I think that definitely woke him up a little bit. You know, it's super sad to hear when he first dropped Satish, the single in honor of his mom, or not his mom, his aunt. And I think that he really honed that anger and that rage into this album, and I think it paid dividends. From the usual somber banger intro, you know, that transitions all the way until Mr. Officer at the end of the album. Every single track on this is worth listening to. Every single track is good. There are no fillers, no filler verses. T Grizzley, you can tell he put his all into every single one of these songs. So in his previous projects, one of the critiques I had was that, you know, it seemed like he was running out of things to talk about. You know, he sort of talked about his journey through the prison system on First Day Out. And then after that, you know, it seemed like he sort of faltered off and didn't know what to talk about, you know, and it got kind of old. But I definitely think on this one, he had different things to talk about. You know, he had police brutality. He had his aunt. He had, you know, COVID. You know, all these different things that he sort of played off of. I think it really helped him. One of my favorite things about T Grizzley is that he is one of those rappers where you believe everything he says on a track. I think that makes a lot of drill music a lot better if there's believability behind it. And I think T Grizzley definitely has that. Definitely some hard bars on here as well. One of my favorites being, I'll drop your brother, give you something to rap about. Like, dog. Another critique I have with his previous projects is that his choruses just were not up to par. He tried to experiment with a lot of singing in his recent projects, and it just didn't really pay off. It just didn't seem like it was his lane. But he either had features on here to help with those, or he just stayed in his bag and really understood how to make a good chorus. I don't know if he sat down and talked with somebody, or if he just really was hard on himself this time. He definitely put together some quality choruses on this project. So I'm super proud of how T bounced back on this project. You know, I think a lot of people were starting to doubt him and sort of, you know, started to forget his name. But hopefully, you know, he keeps putting out quality music like this. I know he's been doing a lot of Twitch streaming and stuff, so I know he's really enjoying himself lately, so I hope he continues to, you know, find other pastimes to get into while he sits down, really hones his skill even more, and maybe puts out something even better than this. So that's going to be it for me today. Thanks for watching as usual. You know, leave a like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Leave me some comments down below of what to listen to. Let me know if there's anything that I missed from this week that you wanted me to listen to, wanted me to rate. As usual, I'll respond to all the comments. Go cop some merch, catch a stream. All that'll be linked down below as well. Shout out to the music curator of this channel, Jutsu. Make sure to follow him. His links will be down there as well. And as usual, we'll be back in the lab next week. See ya.